thanks for this, but I'm just trying to like keep like my household sane. Can you talk about like how people's lives change if they just have some comfortability, some ownership of their sex life and confidence in that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So you talked about, trying to keep this household together, household sane. And one of the things that can be really helpful for people to hear is that responsibility is the biggest killer of arousal. So responsibility is the biggest killer of arousal. So we often say that's why sex can make babies, and often babies are the death blow to sex because there's something like this big response. You have to keep this little potato sack alive. And so it's over the course of our lives, sex changes. And we, in the practice as sex educators, we work on helping people become sexually resilient, meaning as my body changes, as my partnership changes, as my life changes, how do I continue to find connection and pleasure? And so to answer your question about, how do we become this in this area that grows roots into the other areas, it really is about a continued learning about sex. You're never really done. I'm not done learning about sex. None of us are done learning about sex because it changes as our bodies change and our responsibilities change. And so becoming resilient to those changes means, okay, this no longer turns me on. I'm going to start exploring what does at this moment instead of like, I no longer get turned on. My sex life must be done.
Right.
You know,
Like
it's
instead
it's
of
sexual
it's
resilience.
yeah. Oh, that's such a good, that's so interesting. And it's so true because like well, just to go back to your doctor's advice and how terrible that was. Go ahead, have a baby. And it's like, that's like the number one killer to sex. Like sex is
Right.
painful. Or maybe he was just like, here, and then you won't even have to have the reason, you know?
Yeah. All right.
But sexual resilience, I think that is really, an interesting way to put it because I was listening to a podcast where a woman who's over 50 is
Mm,
like talking about her sex life. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting. And then like, because of the way the universe goes, they must have known I was an interview you because the Daily did this like whole story about having sex in your 70s and 80s. And I was like, I've
yeah.
actually never thought about that. I've actually
Right.
never thought like, how do people when they're old have sex? And
Right.
they were talking about how different it has to be and how, and how this is. And I just think like, what, no one talks about that.
No one talks about that. Yeah. Not only do we not talk about it, we desexualize anybody that's not young and white. I mean, honestly, we just like we only sexualize. That's not totally true, but we definitely desexualize older people. We
Hmm.
desexualize people with disabilities. We desexualize anything that doesn't fit into this very narrow definition of what we think is sexual. And so, yeah, people have sex into their 90s. Like
Well,
it's not,
and then and to that point, like because as growing up, right? Like all I saw was like this is what sexy is, and then like
yeah,
if that doesn't make you, if you don't feel good being sexy that way, then like again, there's something wrong with you, or there's
right.
something like so. Okay, what is like step one? If somebody is like, okay, ladies, I'm in. This is like intriguing me. How do I get sexual resilience? Like what? How do
Mm.
they, or how do they even get comfortable with their sexual desire? Like, what's the word you
Yeah.
use?
Yeah, absolutely. I love to start out with this with everybody. Um, I always think about what we want to feel in sex because everything that we do behaviorally, we do it because we want to feel something. So, like, I pet my dog because I want to feel calm. I ride my bike because I want to feel free. I do certain sexual activities because I want to feel pleasure, connection, erotic, intimate, loving, whatever it is that I want to feel in sex. And so, start with the feeling. So, write down my dream sexual experience would feel like, and then write those words down. And then you can work your way backwards. Like, okay, if I want to feel confident, what do I need to do behaviorally in order to feel confident? Maybe I need to learn more about my body. Maybe I need to establish a better relationship with my vulva and my clitoris. Maybe I need to have a masturbation practice. Maybe I need to read some more books, right? So start with what you want to feel and then work your way backwards. I want to feel connected. Okay, maybe I need to work on communication styles with my partner. Maybe I need to learn how to ask more for what I want. And maybe I don't know what I want. So maybe I need to take one more step back and figure out what I like and what I don't like and do some more creative exploration in sex, you know? So I like to start out with that list of what we want to feel, because then you can build behaviors behind that. Lots of times we go into sex like, what do I want to do? Like I want to use a spreader bar and whips, and I want to dress in rubber and stuff like that. And all of that's good and fine. But if it's not getting to what you want to feel, it's going to fall short. It's going to fall flat in your sexual experience. So always start with what you want to feel and then build the spreader bars in behind it.